This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Like, what do you bring to a radio show that me or you don't bring? And I know tits is the obvious answer.
Welcome into the practice squad, and we're going to talk Pistons for the second episode in a row, something I don't know that we've ever done in the history of the podcast. We were both very excited last week, still very excited, but maybe got a little bit of nerves, so we're going to see if Stroz can calm me there coming up a little later on. Thanksgiving. Stroz, when are we going to be releasing this? Friday?
I'm going to try to get it out on Thursday, but maybe Friday.
Okay, so Thanksgiving is either today or yesterday. I will be celebrating Thanksgiving alone in my pajamas watching football for the second year in a row, so we're going to dig into that. But first, Stroz, I don't really know. This is a more loosely put together podcast, I think, than normal.
This podcast was put together basically on a whim. And I feel bad because I mean, look, I'm going to take ownership of this because
no, this wasn't just you. This was very much me too.
This was just, I don't want to say it was thrown together because we don't ever just throw stuff together. But if there was anything that was ever just kind of thrown together, it's this show right here. We just kind of went back and forth real quick, talked real fast. Like I didn't even send you a copy of a rundown. Like that's how thrown together this show is.
Yeah, which is something I don't know that we've ever done. I don't think we've ever done a show without you sending me a rundown, but I got it in my head. But anyways, you were texting me. You believe the Lions are at the lowest point of the Matt Patricia era.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess
the Matt Patricia Bob Quinn era.
Fair. I guess like it's really hard to argue that point on an individual level. What I've tried to figure out whether or not I believe is, was this the worst loss of the Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia era? And I don't know if I'm willing to go quite that far, but go ahead. Get into your take on the lowest point.
And look, I will explain to you why I feel this way. All right. This is the first time this team has been shut out since 2009. All right. This team put up zero offensive production. On top of that, your offense didn't even break 200 yards. Your offense tallied a total of 185 yards. Your offense was outgained in the yardage department by an XFL quarterback who started his first NFL game and beat you. An XFL quarterback outproduced your, what does Matt Stafford make, like $35 million quarterback?
Oh, that's the one thing. Matt Stafford sucked. Like
he wasn't very good.
He was bad.
Yep.
No, I think he was bad, like very bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing, like the truth is the story of the Matt Patricia era is Matthew Stafford winning games in spite of Matt Patricia. You know, last year without Matt Stafford, how many games did Matt Patricia win? Zero. This year, it's taken Stafford miracle drives late in the game. You know, what did it take them to score against Washington?
16
field goals
seconds.
Into overtime? 16
seconds. Yep.
So all this really feels like to me, Stroz, not just this game, but this year. This year, Matt Patricia's being exposed because his quarterback sucks. His quarterback, and he's been good at times. He's been very inconsistent this year. Overall, I would say it has been a bad year for Matthew Stafford.
Look, this is going to feel really uncomfortable for me because you're going to put me in a spot where I'm going to defend Matt Stafford. I don't think Matt Stafford has necessarily sucked. I don't think he's been very good, but I think sucked.
I think it's one of the worst years of his career. I don't think Matthew Stafford, I don't think he's even an average quarterback this year.
Wow, this is so weird. So like,
he's had good games. He's been very inconsistent.
Yes, I think that is probably the best way to describe what you've gotten from Matt Stafford this season is inconsistent.
But I think Stafford might have been. Now, let's be clear here. He didn't have Kenny Golladay. And without Kenny Golladay, this offense, they don't have any running game.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, the offensive line, which has been a positive this year, wasn't good enough in this one.
I mean, Stafford got sacked, 5 times in this game?
Yeah, by a defense who had 6 sacks coming into the game. I think Matthew Stafford plays at Matthew Stafford's normal level. They either are very close to that game or Stroz, I wouldn't rule out the possibility they win that game.
Mm-hmm. Dude, they should have won this game. That's the thing. I thought that they should have won this game.
You should have won a 20-point loss.
I do a prediction for Sports Illustrated, and I predicted them to win. I predicted them to blow the Panthers out. Even like they weren't even competitive on the field. This is my biggest issue with this loss. You lose to an XFL quarterback who's making this first start in the NFL. Did you even hear of Mike Davis before this year? The answer is no. Nobody did.
I don't know.
You may have heard of a whisper of him when he was playing college, but you had no idea who the hell Mike Davis was. Come on, man.
Davis on two of my dynasty league teams.
Okay, look. So nobody knew who Mike Davis was. This defense that they win against, the defense that Matt Stafford win against, is very young. I believe that the Panthers spent all 7 of their draft picks this year on this defense trying to revamp it. All right, it's a young defense that's not very good. On average, they give up over 27 points a game. You couldn't score 1. You couldn't even kick a field goal to put anything on the board. Like this.
Well, no, they kicked the field goal, but Matt Prater sucks.
Well, Matt Prater kicked. Yeah, he missed. He absolutely missed. This game was so damn bad and so frustrating for a Detroit Lions fan. And like, I think this is the hardest thing to kind of try to wrap your head around. There's no reason that the Panthers should have even been in this game. Like, I just gave you a bunch of stuff. They were down with they lost their best offensive weapon in Christian McCaffrey. They had their second best offensive weapon, who's banged up, in Teddy Bridgewater. All right, so you don't even have your starting quarterback. Could you imagine if the Lions didn't have their starting quarterback?
I don't think it would have looked that different. Hold on, I don't believe it would have. I'm being serious. Chase Daniel's a good backup. Matt Stafford in that game was no better than a good backup.
I'd love to argue you, but I can't. I can't argue you on that.
Like, I'm a Stafford.
You are a Stafford slap for sure.
No, I'm not a slap. That's ridiculous. We've done seasons of watch back together, and what you've come away with is that you were always too hard on him. I'm a Stafford defender. I'm a Stafford fan. A Stafford slap. Well, I mean, no. It's just because you don't live in reality. There's nothing I can do about that. But no matter what happens, this point,
I don't live in your reality, B. I live in my reality,
which isn't real.
Your reality is the only real reality there is? Is that what you're saying?
You have agreed with me after watching 3 Lions seasons together that the biggest takeaway is you were always too hard on Stafford. You can't delete those 3 years of watch back, Stroz. Those happened.
Those did happen.
And would you not agree with me that those years of his career, he wasn't even quite as good of a quarterback as the last few?
No. I would say this. Matthew Stafford over the last couple years has grown into becoming a very good quarterback. And
so it sounds like you've always been too hard on Matthew Stafford. Anyways, let's move on from that part of the conversation. No matter what happens the rest of Stafford's career, I will defend the first decade of it because he was a really good quarterback. In fact, I heard today, I didn't know this, the best 3 Lions defenses of his career, the results of those teams, they lost in the playoffs to New Orleans. They lost in the playoffs to Dallas. Mm-hmm. They lost in the playoffs to Seattle. The 3 times the Lions have made the playoffs under Stafford are the best 3 defenses that he has had. And we both know that he's not had 3 good defenses. So he has shown, even with some level of competence, generally speaking, he's good enough to get you there. Now, what he has been this year is concerning for his future. In fact, I find myself where I came into this draft saying I'm okay with moving on. I'm going into this draft saying if they're high enough, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft, and I think I want one. And so I don't necessarily disagree with the fact that this is the lowest point the Lions have been at, but I don't think that this team's that different than year 1 of Patricia or year 2 of Patricia. I think the difference is you're no longer being dragged along by an elite quarterback. Last year, they won 3 games in half of a season with Matthew Stafford. This year, they won 4 games in half of a season with Matthew Stafford. But the problem is, this Matthew Stafford's not as good, and you're probably not going to win many more. And I guess you could say it's not a problem. It's a very good thing. It's just why I hesitate to look at this and say, like, we haven't reached some new point where my eyes have been opened even wider on Matt Patricia. No, well, what's happened is Matt Stafford has shown you how crucial he was to even a minimal semblance of success for Matt Patricia.
Well, here's the thing, too. This team just got rocked by a first-year head coach in Matt Rule, who has 4 wins on the season. You have 4 wins on the season. Mind you, the one win that you came away with as the Detroit Lions the week prior against a beat-up Washington team that took you to the limit, that was your first win at home in over a year. I mean, this team, Matt Patricia is obviously in way over his head, but my bigger point is that this is the lowest point for the Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia era. So both of them put together, Bob Quinn is now at an all-time low. I don't see, and I don't understand, if Because I look, you watch the Houston Texans, all right? You watch them every week because you talk about them on sports radio down there in Houston, all right? They're not a great football team at all. I feel like Detroit Lions should be able to run on this Texans defense.
Healthy, I'd agree with you. But the thing
is, what's that?
But healthy, I would agree with you. But they're not remotely healthy. I said this when he got hurt the first time. I think Kenny Golladay, aside from a good Matthew, you know what? The way Matthew Stafford's playing this year, I'm going to say this. Kenny Golladay is the least replaceable player on the Lions. There's not a single player that is more damaging when they get hurt than Kenny Golladay. Because these receivers, like I like Marvin Jones. He doesn't create separation. TJ Hawkinson's become a very reliable pass catcher. He doesn't create separation. And neither does Kenny Golladay. But the difference is Kenny Golladay is, quite literally
he has the
better than anybody. When he doesn't have separation. So it kind of, Matthew Stafford looks like a different player when Kenny Golladay is on the field this year. Like, people used to criticize Stafford saying that without Calvin, he wouldn't have been any good. And I didn't think that was fair. This year, without Kenny Golladay, I don't trust Matthew Stafford. So I think with Kenny Golladay, the Lions do beat the Texans. For what it's worth, I think they're going to get smacked because they can't play offense. They're not going to be able to take advantage of a bad defense. And it doesn't help. If DeAndre Swift plays, we could see him pop off because this Texans run defense is every bit as bad as the Lions pass defense. But if he doesn't, do you believe in Adrian Peterson? I don't.
No, not at all.
And Kerryon Johnson, I think he's the better of the two, but he's not going to get 15 carries. He can get 5 or 6.
And that's my point. I think Deshaun Watson's going to eat this team alive this week on Thanksgiving. And if there's not any changes that take place after this game, there's a bigger issue at play here. If they lose this game, I think that they are both gone. And I don't mean at the end of the season. I mean, I think they have to. Yes, no, exactly. But here's the thing. So does it happen Friday or does it happen on Monday?
Probably Friday.
I would agree with you. I would think it would have to. Like if Sheila is asleep at the wheel, something else has to be done. Like somebody has to go in there and throw some cold water on her and be like, "Bitch, wake up. Wake up." Because it is bad. Like it is an all-time bad right now. So that's where we're at, and that's what that loss showed me.
Here's what I'll say, and we'll move on in a moment. You had some comments on a Jim Caldwell tweet I want to at least take a moment to address.
So we can talk about the reality that I don't live in?
We'll get there. I don't disagree with you that this is the lowest the Lions have ever been, but I think the Carolina game was far more symbolic than it was meaningful. I didn't learn anything new by watching the Lions lose 20-0 to the Panthers. But putting up a 0 for only the second time by any team in the NFL this year, and as you said, the first time in Stafford's career, I don't know if you said that, but I heard that earlier today. That's symbolic. It doesn't actually mean something, but boy, is it's a stain you can't wash away. And so we agree. I just don't think that this is new. It was just, it was a big stain on the tenure of both Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. Now let's get to the Jim Caldwell tweet.
Before we get to that, Kenny Golladay has been ruled out versus the Texans, so he's not playing. And DeAndre Swift is questionable, and they moved Big V, their right tackle, to IR, signing Mohamed Sanu, bringing him in as the wide receiver to fill in for Kenny Golladay, I guess. So, how does that make you feel going into this crap?
I was pretty sure Kenny Golladay wasn't playing. I think I just assumed that much. But let's get to the Jim Caldwell tweet.
So the Jim Caldwell tweet. So roughly 4:45 on Sunday afternoon, Jim Caldwell tweeted, "Great leadership requires a devotion to task, mission, and ideology that can be understood by watching the man or woman in charge lead their life." And my thought process was, when I heard this, a lot of people jumped to conclusions and believed that he was talking directly to Matt Patricia. My thought process was, no. I think he's talking to Bob Quinn. I think he's calling Bob Quinn out here. And you're telling me that I'm absolutely batshit crazy.
Well, no. I said crazy, but I stepped off that word. I said that before the podcast, and I stepped off that word. Here's my problem. You and many other people, you're not alone, are so, you know why reality TV exists, Stroz? Because people want to believe it's real. And they know in their heart that it's not, but they want to believe that drama is real. I'm sorry. What about Jim Caldwell that we saw while he was here would suggest he's the kind of person who's going to publicly call out a former employer on Twitter? But let's go further than that, because first of all, I think that's important. It's not within his character. But Stroz, can I ask who he was calling out when he tweeted, I believe that your mindset is the most important factor in whether you will succeed or fail? Or can we talk about who he called out when he said, the most important part of success in any endeavor is the will to persist? Or who was he calling out when he said, we must all sit down at the banquet table? He tweets what he views as inspirational tweets. That's all he does. His entire Twitter, he has tweeted 50 times, and the only thing he ever tweets is these kind of inspirational, I don't even know what else I would use to describe them, but like they're all the same formula. And here's the other thing. He does them somewhere between once every 1 day to a week and a half. And this fell in that time slot. This is being assigned to Bob Quinn for basically no reason, or Matt Patricia for that matter. Like, that's not who Jim Caldwell is.
But remember, Jim Caldwell is also the guy who went on a podcast with Glover Quinn, and they basically cut into the lines together about different things. Jim Caldwell you're right, Jim Caldwell is a guy who has a lot of tact. He's a guy who is very genuine and I think very sincere. So when he says stuff, it's usually pretty poignant. All right. And this is a guy who, again, went on that very same podcast and talked about how he felt like he was done wrong by this organization, specifically Bob Quinn. So I don't think it's too far-fetched to say, hey, maybe this guy's subtweeting a little bit. Maybe he's throwing a little bit of shade at Bob Quinn, which I'm totally okay
Bob
with.
Quinn?
What's that?
Or are all 50 of his tweets subtweets?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this one.
I mean, they're all the same formula.
But here's the thing. This one happened to fall at a very peculiar, I can't even say it, a very specific time. It happened just after the Lions got mollywopped by Carolina. It's a really weird time for that tweet to come out. You couldn't have waited maybe a day?
Well, I think it's also worth mentioning, he, as you said, addressed it later and said that previous tweet is a quote taken from a blog posted to my website in June on being an impactful leader. Like, yeah, I
don't have any defense for that. And we found that right before we went to the before we started to do the show. But I think there might be some validity.
I'm not even necessarily like, the reason I step back on crazy is because I understand how you make these connections, but I think there is a lot less there than you want to treat it as. What I would say is you go, I wonder if that's connected. But to just to with confidence say that it is, to me, you're better than that. You can look at this and say, all he does is tweet inspirational quotes. This is just one in a long list. If he had never tweeted something like that before, Stroz, that would change the entire conversation. But because that is what his entire Twitter, like, this man in October tweeted, do more, be great, and capitalized the word more and great. Like, that is his thing. And especially the word leadership. He's got 50 tweets. I bet you the word leadership appears in 20 of them. Like, is it possible that these things are connected? Yes. Are they definitely
Jim
connected?
Is Jim Caldwell trying to be the next John Maxwell? Is that what you're telling me? That's what you're believing?
Absolutely. The dude has a website. Well, I guess the website's just CoachJimCaldwell.com, but the article he shared is called How Do You Become an Impactful Leader?
It's his blog, right? I think it's a blog.
I mean, blog is a website, is it not?
I don't know. I guess it's a website, but I think he has a continuous long form running. Basically, he has thoughts and he puts them down.
Yeah, and the article.
My thought process is, I think it is just I think it's strange happenstance that it happened to be right after they got blown out and shut out by Carolina.
And I think that Kim Kardashian and Chris Humphries really loved each other.
Well, I mean, you're silly for believing that.
All right, moving forward. Again, we're going to get to the Pistons in just a bit. I don't really know what we're doing here. Stroz, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
So I'm going to my mom's house. I have a very busy Thanksgiving. This is weird. Me and you are on polar
opposites. I'll be honest with you. I don't miss busy Thanksgivings. Thanksgivings were never an issue for me, but I don't miss busy holidays.
Mm-hmm. So this is what it's looking like. So I'm going to get up, go to my mom's, spend some time at my mom's. My sister my brother-in-law came down with COVID, so now my sister's got COVID. I will be taking food over to my sister's house after my mom's house, dropping that off on her doorstep and then waving at her. And then we will be going to my girlfriend's brother's house. So a lot of running around. Things have just kind of changed again today. This is Wednesday, so the day before Thanksgiving. So things have adjusted yet again. But mine sounds very busy. Now, yours, you said this is the second time you're doing this. You're basically waking up, sitting around in your underwear, and then you're going to grab a can of cranberry sauce, and you're basically going to spoon it into your face and watch football all day.
No, I don't know what I'm going to do for food, but I can tell you this with stone cold guarantee lock. There's no chance anything I eat tomorrow looks like Thanksgiving.
Do you real quick? So I think this is the one thing that usually drives a wedge between people. Do you like cranberry sauce out of the can? Yes or no?
I don't like much of Thanksgiving food, period.
What? This is one of my favorite holidays. This is probably what we should have talked about.
Well, I just did this on another podcast, so I'll give you the abridged version.
Okay.
Turkey's not that good. Chicken is better. Ham is better. Steak is better. There are just countless numbers of meats that we could do that are better than turkey. If stuffing was good, we'd eat it more than once a year. Mashed potatoes are solid, but I mean, also a pretty standard side. I mean, I enjoy them. It's probably my favorite part of Thanksgiving, but I mean, I'm not going to celebrate a holiday because we have mashed potatoes. Green bean casserole. I'm sorry. I'm not celebrating.
I think green bean casserole is overrated.
Anything with green beans can't be that good. Cranberry, anything. I'm not a huge fan of cranberry.
I love.
I'm not gonna defend the cranberry. I know people love cranberry, but everything else, like turkey, not that good. You agreed.
No, I love turkey.
Do you like turkey more than ham?
So let me put you like this.
Do you like it more than chicken?
I eat chicken every day. No, let me
Do you
put
like it more
this.
than chicken?
So I like turkey, but I think they're like Thanksgiving, you have to have turkey, and I think Christmas you have to have ham.
To have turkey.
There's nothing that annoys me more than arbitrary rules. Screw that. You know what? There are going to be things that I don't enjoy more about my Thanksgiving, but the one thing I'll enjoy more about my Thanksgiving is whatever I eat tomorrow, I'm going to actually like and not eat it because I have to. Literally nothing annoys me more than arbitrary rules. It's just a way to make your life less enjoyable.
Look, I like turkey on Thanksgiving. I don't think there's anything less enjoyable about that. I mean, if you want to have ham, have ham. I usually don't enjoy ham on Thanksgiving. I like ham on Christmas. I like my mom's ham.
Which one tastes better?
What's that?
Which one tastes better?
I'm going to say turkey. I like turkey better. I do.
Nobody actually thinks that. They only defend it. This is only ever a conversation in November because nobody is like, man, I can't wait to have a turkey any other time of year.
You've never gone to a restaurant and ordered a turkey dinner? No.
Nobody ordering turkey dinners.
I have.
There on a list of meats that are better. I could probably give you at least 5.
I would agree with you 100%. I think at the very top, steak is number one. Steak is number one. And then that is probably actually, I'll go this way.
Brisket's better.
I would say lamb chops are probably number
Ribs
one.
are better.
I think ribs are, I could do without. Ribs are good now and again, but I think ribs get overhyped.
There's really no individual thing about Thanksgiving. Unless you're a big stuffing fan, there's nothing in the food of Thanksgiving that makes it special. But anyways, let's move on from that. So
what about pumpkin pie? Do you like pumpkin pie?
And I mean, it's not special. And so that'll be the one thing I had been literally like looking forward to it appearing in my grocery store again because last November, this is a whole story in itself. I've lived on my own for 4 years. And as long as I've lived on my own, I've never really done anything to separate the time of year. Like I've never had a Christmas tree. I've never, I don't know, just nothing. I don't know the decorations. And that's something I had growing up and I was around growing up. And so last year I saw a pumpkin cake roll or something like that. And I got it just thinking like, oh, this will be kind of like nice. It's, it's something different, kind of make me feel like the holidays. And I was like literally looking and waiting for that to appear at my grocery store. And it popped up again the last time I went grocery shopping. So I'm sure I'll have some of that tomorrow. But aside from that, I haven't decided. I just know it's not going to be anything Thanksgiving related.
I like how you're the Grinch of Thanksgiving. Like, who would have thought you, Mr. Wholesome?
Have a problem with Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is fine.
It sure sounds like you do. Sounds like you have a problem with the Pilgrims and the Indians sitting down to eat some turkey with some corn and whatever else is going on.
Discussion if you wanted to get into that, but that's not what we're here for. No, the food is overrated. Thanksgiving is a holiday, like hanging out with your family and watching football, awesome. The idea of stuffing your face, awesome. It's just the stuff that you stuff your face with that I think is overrated.
What would you like to stuff your face with then? Like, what would you prefer? How would you like we had no idea. This is a very loose topic for us, right? We had no idea where we're going, but this is where I want to go. I want to know how B would redo basically the Thanksgiving Day spread. How would you do this?
If I was going to make my Thanksgiving dinner my favorite food, and I'll be totally honest with you, this is relatively new. From being in Texas, like brisket has become my favorite form of meat.
So good luck making a brisket.
I don't gotta make brisket. I'll buy it from somewhere else, dude. I don't
the hardest meat to make ever.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess like I'm also not somebody who believes you have to make the Thanksgiving meal necessarily. Like,
what are you gonna get your brisket on Thanksgiving? You gonna get it like 3 days before?
Sure,
maybe. Okay, all right. Look, it's your world. It's your world. Look, it is Scrooge McDuck's world, and you're Scrooge McDuck. So you tell me what else? What else? We're going brisket, and we're going what else?
Pizza than a turkey.
Well, you love pizza, so that doesn't count.
I would rather, dude, everything. I mean, even ham would be an upgrade. Italian food.
We're going brisket instead of turkey.
Okay, so if we're going brisket, well, it's a lot of the same sides. I'll take them. Well, not a lot. Basically, I just meant mashed potatoes. I'll take some mashed potatoes with that.
Okay.
Some mac and cheese.
Okay.
Mac and cheese is the side that's not at enough Thanksgivings.
I agree with you.
Some coleslaw.
Ooh, okay. All right. What else?
Those are probably my 3 big sides.
I feel like you need something like a little bit acidic to kind of cut through, because look, mashed potatoes and gravy are thick and heavy. There's a lot of cream usually in those potatoes. Mac and cheese is usually creamy and dense and rich. You like coleslaw is good because it's a little bit acidic, but I feel like you need something else to kind of cut through all of that. And look, brisket's a little bit fatty, so that's also a little bit dense.
I think the only other thing I want to add, and it's not going to do what you wanted. So here's like my go-to barbecue order when I'm here. If I'm doing it by myself, I'll do 2 meats, half brisket, half some form of sausage. They make all sorts of different kinds here, but some kind of sausage. And then my 3 sides that I just told you. Okay. 2 meats, 3 sides is my go-to barbecue order. It's a lot of food. I'm a fat guy, clearly. Also, I get barbecue like every 6 weeks, maybe. So it's like, that's my Thanksgiving is every 6 weeks. And as far as desserts, I don't know. I like the desserts that are associated with Thanksgiving. Your standard pumpkin pie is good. Okay. I think apple pie works for Thanksgiving, right?
I think so.
Apple pie is solid.
So, this is kind of how I look at it, right? I think you fall usually into 2 camps, and if you don't fall in either one of these 2 camps, you fall into the apple pie camp. So either apple pie, or you're either pumpkin pie, or your sweet potato pie. And if you're neither one of those, it's usually apple pie.
Can I tell you, there's not a lot I'm embarrassed by. I don't know why this embarrasses me, but I'm going to share it anyways, and it just is what it is. So in my family, and it's because of me and my brother, I've had this take for a very long time that if something is fruity, it does not count as dessert. As I've gotten older, I've moved away from the take a little bit, but it's only because I've come to understand where my actual opinion comes from. And really what it is I just think chocolate is always better than fruit. So in my family, no matter the holiday, we will have the standard dessert. So there's going to be pumpkin pie there, but there's going to be something chocolatey. And I feel embarrassed that there's a chocolatey dessert at my family. Get-togethers that's there because of me. But
look, we at mine, we normally have some type of a brownie or some type of chocolate covered something or another. Like dessert is it's not just pumpkin pie.
In my family, it's pumpkin. I would say it's pumpkin pie and something chocolatey.
Yes.
And then for Christmas, it's probably apple pie and something chocolatey.
So it's like pumpkin pie and then it's like 8 other things. Like we like dessert's its own meal. I usually can't wait to get to dessert. Like I love Thanksgiving, but I can't wait to get to the dessert because the dessert's so damn good.
So because I'm not a huge main course fan in my family, I would normally stuff myself on appetizers. And I eat some dinner, but I'm not going to eat a lot of turkey, which is the most filling part, right? I don't like stuffing, which is filling. My Thanksgiving plate for dinner is a couple small pieces of turkey, some mashed potatoes, maybe a dinner roll. I might not touch anything else. So I stuff myself on the appetizers and then look forward to dessert.
So I'm a fat
don't get the impression
bastard.
I don't enjoy Thanksgiving. The dinner part of it's just overrated. And most people end up like when you have the conversation, it's like they don't disagree on any individual takes. They just disagree on the whole idea that Thanksgiving food's overrated.
So I love Thanksgiving, and I'm a fat bastard, so I eat all of the appetizers, and then I eat all like. It's not uncommon for me to get through dinner and then be like, all right, cool. When are we eating pumpkin pie or eating dessert? And then I eat all the dessert. And then I usually pass out right around the second quarter of the Dallas game.
That's the same timeline for me. I actually think it sounds like our family Thanksgivings are probably not that far apart.
No, they sound pretty similar. I really wish I had the money, and I really wish I knew that you were going to be home alone, because I pay for a ticket and be like, B, just get on the plane.
I don't know if this is weird. It doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love being able to see my family. I'm going to be back for Christmas. I don't know. And honestly, my plan originally before flying back a couple weeks ago was to go back for Thanksgiving if I didn't work Friday. I ended up working Friday, so it didn't matter. But I don't know, man. Like, I genuinely will enjoy the food I eat more tomorrow, whatever it is. I still got football to watch. It's just a random day off in the middle of the week. It's not going to feel like a normal Thanksgiving, but it's still going to feel like, a nice day off in the middle of the week where I get to watch football and eat good food.
Yeah, I think the watching the football and eating all of the food is the best part. I mean, of course, seeing your family, whatever. I think it's great, but I think the meal and the fact that you get to watch football from basically. I don't want to say it's the time you wake up, but it's pretty damn close. Like, I usually don't roll out of bed till like 10, and
it's earlier.
Starts at noon.
It's 11:30 here.
Yeah, which is awesome for you. So basically, you're like scratching your balls and taking a dump, and next thing you know, you're drinking your coffee and the lines are kicking off. So it's awesome for you.
What do you think?
So what do you think about them moving the night game? So the Pittsburgh.
It sucks, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, like I was shocked that they did it, because we've had 3 football games now for what feels like ever. It really like isn't that long.
Baltimore still had more positive tests today, and when that's happening, it's like you don't know how many you're going to have. I get it. I shouldn't bring this up, but I was thinking about it before we did the podcast, because we got it in the Pistons talk. The day before Thanksgiving is typically one of the busiest bar nights of the year, correct?
Yep.
Can you explain that to me as the partier that you have been in your life? I don't follow why is the day.
Well, because you don't have to go out the next day. You don't have to go to work the next day.
Welcome to every Friday.
It's like, well, no, it's true. You could go out on a Friday, but I think it's because it's one of those random days in the middle of the week. You don't get to go out for Thirsty Thursday, so it's going to be a Wicked Wednesday. You're going to go out and you're just going to get all sorts of effed up, and the next day you just kind of nurse your hangover with Thanksgiving food. And I think that's part of the reason. I don't understand why it's that way either.
Okay, well, I'm glad. I didn't expect that to be such a short and sweet. Like, I thought for sure you probably shot somebody.
Like, there was some awesome story. No, I have no awesome story for you. I wish I did.
Surprising. Well, honestly, I was asking because I was curious. I just figured we would get off the track somewhere. But Pistons.
Yes.
Kind of wild how much has happened since we last recorded. I'm not even going to sit here and try and tell you everything. I want to get into one little thing here. So I'm still optimistic about the Pistons, and I'd even still say excited, but I feel like there's a part of me trying to protect myself, like trying to shield myself from another 10 years of Pistons trash. And it's because you had this guy in Christian Wood who's restricted free agent, right? Like, you had control.
Yes.
I'm actually not 100% sure he was restricted. I'm assuming he was.
He was.
Yeah, so you had this restricted free agent. You had control of him. The contract he signed wasn't that. I mean, it was not cheap, but it wasn't, wild. And you signed and traded him for kind of next to nothing. You got a little bit more protections on the Rockets picks, but those weren't important. So you let this young, promising piece go, who, by the way, Christian Wood looks like what the future of the NBA big looks like.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if Houston fans recognize how big of a get this was for them. So you let him go, and you spend a ton of money on who's the big man they spent all their money on? Plumlee.
Yes, Mason Plumlee.
Yeah,
you got Jahlil Okafor.
Jahlil Okafor was a minimum deal. That's whatever. But you went out and spent a ton of money on Mason Plumlee. You went out and spent a ton of money on Jeremy Grant. They signed a bunch of relative guys. Like, I was excited at the idea of this being a long-term process, and I still think that's the plan. You know, I think I've seen a lot of people suggesting that they signed movable contracts in thoughts that, like, these could be pieces that are traded later on. But they just did so much, and I'm going to be honest, like, while I loved everything about the draft, I can't say the same for everything in free agency. So while last week when we were recording, I had this almost blind excitement and faith, I still do have a lot of excitement and faith. Like, don't misunderstand me here. I'm just nervous because I got excited about Stan Van Gundy, and I don't think that was baseless either. Stan Van Gundy had a lot of success in the past, both with Miami and Orlando, but we saw how that worked out. And, like, I don't believe the Lions. Like, I'm never going to believe the Lions turning it around until I see something again heading in the right direction. Matt Stafford was a big piece of my belief in the Lions, and I've lost. I don't have belief in him anymore. Therefore, I don't have belief in the Lions anymore. And the Pistons and Lions are my two teams that I am the most emotionally invested in. So I just kind of wanted to present that. I still think they're headed in the right path. It just gives me a little bit more pause than I had a week ago.
So I'll agree with you. The not keeping Christian Wood really surprised me, really shocked me, because like you said, I believe he is the future of what the big man's going to look like in the NBA. This is a guy who can kind of stretch the floor a little bit. He can shoot three-pointers at a really good clip. He's a guy who doesn't have to play with his back to the basket. He's a guy who can play facing up the hoop.
He's one of the best pick and roll men. Well, let's be clear. He on a small sample size, but he was one of the best pick and roll men in the league as a roller last year. He can switch on defense.
And I think that might have been part of what maybe scared Troy Weaver was the sample size. I mean, he basically bounced around the G League. Yeah, he bounced around the G League for a little bit, and he essentially only played half a season. And it was incredible what he did in that half a season, but I think that might have scared him. And you don't want to necessarily give a guy like that, what's he getting, $41 million? Is that what the contract was with Houston?
But how many years is that over? 3?
I think it's 3. 3, yeah. So, I mean, you're right. It's not like it's a ton of money, but
$15 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
In the NBA, so, that's nothing. A max contract in the NBA, it's different player to player. But I think for a max contract for a player coming off of a rookie deal, you're paying them $25 million.
And I think that's kind of the point, right? So you go out, you sign a guy like Mason Plumlee, who you know what you're going to get. It's not going to be great. You gave him, I think, 3 years at $25 million. So why not just chalk up the little bit extra and get a guy who you can possibly build around or be a piece for your future? So I understand the pause for cause right there. But what I'm going to tell you is it's been so bad for so long. Don't be afraid by a guy coming in and basically saying,
I'm not afraid that like he's going to make things worse. What I'm afraid of is I'm afraid of getting too excited and being let down again.
I got you. I don't think you need to necessarily worry. I think it's one of those things, right? It wasn't great and you weren't going anywhere. You're just like the Pistons, right? You're not bad enough to really do anything, and you're not good enough to really be a contender or to even be in the talks for the playoffs, right? You're just kind of there meddling around. This guy came in and said, you know what? We're moving everything we can move, and we're starting over. We're hitting the reset button, and we're doing it hard.
Yeah,
and I love that.
What? And that's why I still look at it. That's why I still look at it, and like overall, I'm optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember that conversation we had about how we just want something to be able to root for again? Like, we'll take the heartbreak just to be able to care again.
Just be relevant.
I still mean that, but I need that heartbreak to be a loss in the conference finals, not a...
I like how you're hedging your bets now. I don't mean it as hard as I did mean it before. I only kind of mean it.
No. I mean,
don't hurt me so bad.
I get why it sounds like that, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is losing in the conference finals means you were still relevant in there. What I don't want to do is buy all the way in and never get, like Stan Van Gundy. I was all the way in on Stan Van Gundy, and they won 0 playoff games. To me, that's not just being able to be relevant and root for my team again. Like, I need to be able to root for my team to actually win something, not just make the playoffs. Those aren't the same things. I need Troy Weaver to build a team that wins a playoff series, wins 2 playoff series. If he can't build a championship contender, fine. Break my heart in the conference finals. Just don't do it before that.
So you need them to be good, but you just don't want to be let down.
I guess what I'm saying is And I think this is honestly, Stroz, I think that this is very accurate. There's a certain level of love that is worth the heartbreak that comes from it. But if the love's mediocre and I still got to feel that heartbreak, I'd rather just not feel that love. Does that make sense?
Yes. That was like the most impassioned
No, I mean, I think it's a really good comparison
thing I think I've ever heard you say.
I'll take the team that gets to the conference finals because they gave me a certain level of excitement. But the team that just makes the playoffs, they didn't give me enough for it to be worth it. I'd rather not buy back in just to watch you get smacked in the face in the first round of the playoffs.
Can we check in on your Tinder love life? Like, how's Tinder going for you? Are you on Plenty of Fish? You get on Plenty of Fish? You stopped using Tinder again?
Dude, it's so awful.
Why? Like, I don't feel like it's that hard.
Huh?
I don't feel like it's that hard. I mean, I've never used it, so I don't know. But I don't feel like it's that hard.
Well, what do you mean hard?
Well, I don't know. You said it's awful. Like, what's so awful about it? Like, you swipe right, you swipe left, and if the chick likes you, she'll swipe on you, and I don't know. You just message her.
Yeah,
like,
that
hey.
Part's fine. It's the conversation part.
Like you have,
I sent you.
You're a conversationalist. Like,
I sent you that message.
You do this for a living.
2 messages into a conversation the other day, this girl says, "I'm a fan of rational self-depreciation, so it seems we have opposite values in life." Like, bro, I don't need you bringing me down. I'm not trying to marry you, okay? This is the second message. I don't give a shit if we have opposite values in life. I'm sorry, I don't want to hate myself.
Are you like, can you put my wiener in your mouth? Can we talk about that? Can we go there? There's got to be a difference. There's got to be a different app that you can use. Like maybe Christian Mingle.
OptimistState.com.
There's got to be something, man.
Christian Mingle most definitely is not for me.
Not for you? What about, like, I've heard some people like Plenty of Fish. Have you ever tried that one?
No.
Why? Try it. What do you got to lose?
I've tried most of them. It's probably one of the very few I haven't tried. No, I mean, so I messaged 3 girls. There was that one, another one who didn't respond, and another one who apparently referenced a song in her bio, and I didn't get it, and I commented on it, and she's like, listen to it, rolling eyes face. I was like, bro.
Like, okay, go kick rocks.
Like, I'm here for, like, giving each other crap, but, like, when it's that early in a conversation, I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just not fun. Like, that's really all it is. It's just not fun. The swiping part can be fun, but when 99% of the conversations are, like, not worth your time by message 2, it's not so fun anymore. I'll try and have one more conversation by next show. Maybe we can make one conversation like a reoccurring segment.
Look, what about and like, I'm gonna put your business out there.
How the hell did we get here?
This is what we do. This is what I do. I'm gonna put your business out there.
Go for it.
What about that one nice girl you met when you went to Washington?
The one who is lesbian and engaged?
No, like I thought there was like a nice chick that you hung out with on top of a roof.
On top of a roof?
Yeah.
There were 2 girls I hung out with in Washington.
Okay, one's a lesbian.
Oh, you mean, my bad. I'm thinking about a different DC or a different Washington. You mean DC? I was thinking of Seattle.
Yes. No, DC. I was just saying, did I get the story that wrong? What?
Yeah, no.
Like, I know I listen when you talk to me.
I'm wearing my Mariners hat today. You commented it on earlier, so I thought you were talking about Seattle, Washington.
No, I'm sorry, DC. My bad. I should have been more clear.
Well, for one, she lives in DC.
Mm-hmm. But you can still talk and see what, I don't know, might come up.
For 2, hold on, give me 1 second. I gotta think of how I want to word this.
Mm-hmm.
For 2, it seems as if we have opposite values in life.
What does that mean? That's what she said.
It was a Tinder message I got.
Oh.
To be fair, probably some level of accuracy in there.
Mm-hmm.
I need to disclose this for myself.
Yeah.
She's very attractive.
Yeah.
That was the extent of my interest.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so you were more physical conquest, and she was like, "So, what are you doing for the next 5 years?" Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. But we both know that that's not me, so we're good here. That is definitely. It is so weird because that is not you.
So then we're good here.
That is me.
All right, can we wrap this up? I don't know why the hell we needed to go here.
I just feel like every now and then we got to check in on your love life.
Let's put your business out there.
I mean, I've got a girlfriend. She's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know.
Sometimes
what do you want to know?
She texts me to critique
She
you.
texts
on
you
our
a
show.
lot. She talks.
No.
She talks to you a ton. She talks to my my brother-in-law a ton. Like, she is all over the place.
Well, she has a lot
It's
to say
crazy.
about you, I guess.
She what?
She has a lot to say about you, I guess.
I mean, she just talks a lot of shit, is what it is.
Sounds fitting for you. All right, that's going to do it. Happy Thanksgiving if you're listening to us on Thanksgiving. If you're not, I hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. I'm going to